of the things we were wondering was that, hey, why did they put us last? We wanted to be the first ones to start because it was going to make our job much more easier. And as you notice, those who started just 5 minutes, but hey, it started expanding. Then I said, hey, by the time we get to 8 o'clock, it will be very difficult. People will be sleeping. But with us, you won't sleep. You'll even wish for more. As you can see, I'm with honey. You know, they say people, dynamites, they come in small packages. But here, when we started, we're all here. But let me just put a little background.
Can you just that slide?
Me and Selvin, we attended a course at GSP. And Selvin was saying to me, you've got stories to tell. But why is it that your stories, you don't put them out there so that they can be known? Then, when we met here, the Partners for Possibility, they said, you're going to get a partner. Oh, I was looking forward to a partner. I wonder what we're going to accomplish. Because this is my daily work. If you enter into my office, there are papers thrown all over. I don't want the administrator to touch anything. As you can see, I was carrying the load alone. Because sometimes, you know, like my colleagues have already alluded, being a principal is a very lonely place. And you need someone to talk to. Someone who will be non-judgmental, and sometimes you just need someone to just listen. Don't tell me that you know what we're going through. Nobody, even the business, you don't know what we do in schools. And you don't even have a solutions. Because in business, they hold the money at the problem. And then they think they've solved it. For us as principals, we must go to the root problems. Because if you don't go to the root problems, then that problems, it keep on recurring. And there's nothing you can do about it. Nelson meets honey. I think there is another picture where we met here the first time. I was sitting next to her. Then I was saying to myself, hey, I'm wondering. And I remember Zola asking, hey, I'm wondering, what is it these people that are going to tell us? Because daily we go through all these things. And then Joe was saying, you guys just relax. You're going to see what's going to come after a year. And then we said, okay, we'll relax. But I can say now, I'm not the same person that I was in 2018. I'm much more different. I can't say I'm much more energized because energy, I'm a full package myself. So with VFP, it became small. And then you can imagine when you enter into this room, you've got these other people that you have to go to think with. Then you become more and more, I can't say powerful, but you become more and more expandable. You know, you expand like a bullfrog. No. So, and it was, so Heidi will take us through. In this community, you know, when we meet other principals, because we are lonely, we don't get a chance to go and visit. But we get to realize that, no, man, sometimes we all share the same problems. It's just that what is happening in Fuleni, what is happening in Kukuletu, because I am in Philippi. Every year I listen to the stats. #1 police station in South Africa, meta capital, is in Nyanga. And that's where I am. And when people want to come in there, they say, is it safe to come in there? I said, look, I've spent 27 years being in that place, and I'm still safe. So what is it that it might not be safe in that place? And Joe got to realize it then, Heidi got to realize it then, and we had fun. And let's take the partner.
The next slide. So my work is as a speaker, coach, a facilitator, so training and working with people is what I do every day. But as a solopreneur, someone who works very much on their own, I was very clear that working with Partners for Possibility and working in a community of practice was an opportunity to experience community and have that contribute to me as well. And it's been profound in that sense. Not just to activate myself as an active citizen and play the role that I get to play in this group, but also to allow me to be nurtured and to learn within a community. So I was very clear that I had opinions about the school system, about education, because I started my career in education. I started my life as a high school teacher, as Mandisa did as well. But I also have a husband who is a deputy headmaster at one of the more privileged schools in the southern suburbs. So I have a lot of very strong opinions about what schools are and aren't doing. And so I was keen to find out how that plays out in community, particularly across the Cape Flats. And so for me, working in this process over this 12 years has been, how it's contributed to me is to expand my opportunities to impact education in a positive way through the various networks within Partners for Possibility. So I had the opportunity of presenting, and there's Selwyn with us in the headlights of the presentation, for the School Leadership Forum, attended some of the other School Leadership Forum events, to not only get inspired myself, but to really experience connecting with what the school concerns are. Because as I'm sure you've seen by this point in the presentations, listening to 6 principals, the thing that humbled me was actually getting clear about the heroes that they are, the unsung heroes that they are in our nation. And so finding a way to contribute, not just to the principals in our circle, but within their communities was something that was important to me. And that included taking up the opportunity when Ayanda invited me to come and work with his staff at the Appreciation Day. That was, Ayanda, thank you, you can click again. Such a powerful day to see the way, the categories in which another school principal awarded his staff. For everything from punctuality, and I noticed several principals here tonight mentioned it, to people who have made the most progress in the kind of class averages, to people who go the extra mile, to people who mentor other teachers. And it was just so beautiful to me to see Ayanda living that in action. So, and then also to see the spirit that was created through their partnership as well, Ayanda's leadership and Patricia's contribution. So it was really such a privilege to expand not just what I experienced in our COPs and in this, amongst these 12 leaders, but in those people's circles as well. I also do other work with other organizations, and I recently met a friend who's here on this photograph, because the realities of what our principals are dealing with in education really hit home for me. The students I mentor at Siva University, it had me understand what they've come from. What are the challenges they've had to navigate to be in tertiary education? And how have they been contributed to? So that's really allowed me to bring a greater level of empathy to the students that I mentor and to expand conversations for inclusion beyond these circles. And then...
Sinethemba, we have hope, and we live in hope. And those values are the values that we live by every day. So those learners, when they come in that environment, no matter what has been happening during the day or during the night, when they enter it, they know that they get the hope. And you can imagine the hope, and then we're meeting Hani's company. I know she'll expand on it. Expand.
So yes, for me, when I first met Nelson at our very first initiating circle, I was thrilled that I was paired up with somebody who had already in the very first meeting expressed the kinds of values that I felt I not only respected but admired. And so when we had our first meeting at his school and he introduced us to their values, I felt here's the synergy. They're saying that their focus is rise for you have hope. And Nelson's concern in our very first meeting was an expression that not everybody on his staff is inspiring people to rise and live with hope. And he was carrying a lot of that load alone as well. My motto in my business is connect, inspire, grow. So I immediately saw an opportunity to dive in here and start to build the connections because he was experiencing being disconnected from some of the key players in his school. And so from the get-go, we had a vision of what we could create. But we didn't think it was going to take us a whole year to get there.
Yes.
So I resonate with what Sungi's saying. I kept thinking, are we doing enough? What are we actually doing? Thanks.
We just kept on talking and talking. That is our first visit. You can see that's more or less how my office looks like. But here on the other side, this is the hope that I'm talking about. You know these children that you see here? In 2017, the top learner in physical sciences in the Western Cape, Siphelele Xabendlini, 300 out of 300 in physical sciences. And those are the stories that are not being told. And that is what Selwyn was saying. But we don't know the stories. Why are you not saying them? I said you only heard about those. These children that I'm hearing here, 8 of them are at the University of SUCT. They are third year medicine. They are third year actuarial sciences. Another one is doing dentistry at UWC. And another one is doing civil engineering at VETS. These children, we start with them it's called Kutwanung. I know Mr. Nanga is also there, the tutors behind it, where we meet these children. When they are in grade 10, we see them on Saturday. When they go to grade 11, we see them on Friday and Saturday. When they go to grade 12, we see them on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So when you hear, because even last year, the top learner in quintile 2 schools, no feed paying schools, was also coming from Philippi, where we are working. I think he got how many? 7 distinctions. And then, yes, no, we talked distinctions. Yeah, no. And we're talking the average of 95%. So it happens every year. So it's something that we are used to. I think 75 years. That's what we live. They say we are posting, but that's what we live. And that's what Selvin said. Please, let's share it with us on that. And when we shared it, I think in after school program, I became number 2. I was with Zola on that one. So me and Zola, we were always meeting somewhere. Yes, continue.
But also, sorry, if you can go back to that picture. So why that was powerful for me, and this is what I discovered in our first meeting. And then he repeated those results at the end of last year. So we met in November, and then when the results were published, I messaged him and I said to him, share your results. And he sent me these whole spreadsheets. I thought he was going to tell me the top 5 or something like that. But what was critical for me about this is precisely what he's talking about, the publicity. Because having a husband who's not only a physical science specialist, but working at one of these posh schools, my husband claimed that his student was the top student nationally. And I was like, can't be, because I've got the student who's the top student. And then we actually discovered that these 2 boys are tied. And so for me, they were just all these symbols that and they went to receive a shared award. It was in Pretoria.
Yes.
So just actually getting that synergy, but also the rivalry, and you'll see more of that as we go through the presentation, was our shared commitment and passion to empower others to experience their higher self. And so it excites me when I can see that everything this man is doing, and I want you to understand what he said by saying those learners are there till Sunday. He is at school 7 days a week. And this is what's not published. We see the results of the learners of distinction in the southern suburbs. And we are robbing the narratives of these shining stars and these unsung heroes. So it's really, for me, why I have a whole posse here, is we need to amplify this message about where excellence and where victory against all odds is taking place. So, yeah, the stuff we started to then learn and do together. So yes, you can go first.
Yes, what that power of listening, attention, and appreciation. You know, sometimes you get an environment where you just sit and be listened to and just be quiet. And that's what most of the time we don't get. However, the sad part is that After this photo, I think it was the following day, I got hijacked. I was shot. And I had to spend 10 days in hospital because I got shot and I broke my leg. So I was sitting there and wondering, but I'm sitting there, they say, we must get well. Then I'm thinking, hey, Partners for Possibility, hey, Flawless Consulting. But after 10 days, I was out of the hospital. I was wearing a very big boot. And then we went again, and then it's how we live. And then afterwards, I said, no, I'm appreciative of the group that I have because they gave me the strength to come back. And then even when I got back to them, they said, hi, Bo, we thought you were still going to stay there for us. I said, no, I can't miss. You know, the food and the corpse was very high, so I can't miss the food and the ideas. No, I'm coming. I'm here.
One of the things that moved me, not only in the workshop, but since the workshop, was we practiced appreciation in this session. And it was moving and humbling to experience how moved the principals were, to experience succinct, sincere, specific appreciation for who they were. Not cluttered by fancy words, no wow, amazing, but actually specific to who they are and what they've contributed so far. How they were showing up in our world as business partners. And so for me, just seeing the impact of the power of listening, attention, and appreciation was phenomenal. In my own work, it certainly has deepened my practice and my experience of people getting time to also hear themselves. Because I think that's something we sometimes miss when we're quick to jump in. In the group sessions, I confess I struggled with the challenge. They said not interrupting is the simplest rule and also the most hard and most difficult to implement. And constantly needing to bite on your tongue when we were in group discussions. So in pairs, it was easy to take turns. But in group discussions, needless to say, it was a learning. So thank you.
I continued, and then when I went back to work, I think on the 15th of April, I had to go back to work. The first thing was saying, you're going to have a meeting with the staff. Then I was saying, do I run the meeting the same way I've been doing it? And no. Then I went to the group. I said, guys, you congratulate me. I'm going to have the first meeting with the staff for 2019 after my accident. And then they sent me ideas. Oh, I listened. Then I said, okay. They said the first thing you must check in. There I go. I'm the man. Check in. Woo! That tool became the most powerful tool that I never experienced in my life. We run meetings with agendas. We just come and say, here's the agenda, opening and welcome, apologies, and then we go on. I said check-in. We said the meeting is going to take 1 hour, 30 minutes. Believe me, the meeting took 5 hours. Reason is that each person had something to say. And in that process, you could realize that people have been carrying all this weight that we never got to listen to them. And now I said to myself, I wish I was like, I didn't have psychology background. What are we going to do? Because people now are crying. The things that they are telling us are the things that we didn't even expect. But we had to just keep quiet and listen because it was time for that person to speak. And then we didn't finish the agenda. We had to continue the agenda the following day. Then I went to the staff meeting. I did the same. Imagine I've got 45 staff members, each member checking in. And then you can't say you've got only 2 minutes and what. Even if you say they've got 2 minutes. But the moment you create that platform to say something, then again, I didn't finish the meeting. We didn't touch the agenda. Because each person was saying how that person was feeling. We had to come again the following day to continue with the agenda. So that was the most powerful to me. And I'm not going to let it go again.
So as somebody who works in the landscape of diversity and inclusion, working with, and I'm going to say southern suburb schools to reference the more privileged schools, those terms, diversity and inclusion, take on very different connotation to what it does on the Cape Flats. And so that was great learning for me, because what Nelson just spoke to is the distribution of power and amplification of voices that are usually silent. So while we may think that the schools in Philippi and Kailija and Nyanga and everywhere else doesn't have the same issues of including those who were previously excluded that Southern Suburb schools are dealing with, what there was how do we get the voices engaged that are usually silent, that are culturally silent, or that are historically silent. So I had the opportunity to invite Nelson to get his governing body to attend with me a workshop by the Bertha Center of Social Innovation and Enterprise, where they were running a schools inclusion training. And when we were there, the focus was for the schools on the other side of the railway line. How do we word policies so that we are respectful of different cultures and so on? But when I sat with this group of parents and learners, what emerged was, how do they maintain an environment where every voice is heard in a classroom of 65 learners? So the realities of what schools are dealing with, again, is not what we're just dealing with how miserably they may be failing at achieving standards of excellence, when actually there's a whole different world for what excellence is in the conditions and environment and with the stellar leaders that you've experienced this evening.
From learning to build the community, all the workshops I've been with Hani, and then he says, how then do we include? Because we're talking about inclusion. Can see I invited my secretaries and my learners to write an invitation to the meeting. I invited the executive of the RCL, the SGB, and the SMT. But there is another clause that she gave there that says, even if you don't make it, don't worry if you miss this one. You're going to join us next time. But believe me, they came. And nobody, when they started coming, they said, hey, Manian, in 2 hours I'll be leaving. And then another one will say, hey, I'll be up. They stayed for 5 hours. They still wanted for more. You can continue.
Yes. When we dealt with this concept in the community building through invitation, this concept of invitation is a willingness to accept or decline. And when you're inviting someone, that you know that people can accept or decline. And so the principals were very confronted by this concept because they're used to a mandatory instruction and directive to whoever's concerned. So we grappled with that. And I said to him, we are going to lose some people. People are not going to all be there, but we need to trust that the people who need to be in the room will be in the room. So we gave them about 45 minutes on that morning to arrive. And this was when we finally took action. He called me the day after my birthday to say, are you free next week? Can you do this? After us planning and not finding dates for 6 months. But the invitation, so we worded this invitation together. How do we excite the team to come to the space in a new context where they're not looking at him as the leader who's disillusioned very clearly, because he expresses his disillusionment very clearly as well. He learned that in Flawless Consulting. When Nelson did his parade of once, he shocked all of us, because he said to the person, you're lazy and you need to pull up your socks. And I was like, okay, connect, inspire, grow, I've got work to do. So this concept of Nelson embracing the invitation was in itself a hurdle we needed to overcome, but he said, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you. But you better work magic when it happens. And so we did. So we actually had a community building workshop. And Nelson had parents present, he had his governing body members present, he had his senior management team present, and I'm saying those terms out in full for my people who don't necessarily know that SMT is senior management team. And we looked at what are the different areas of vision for Sinethemba, but we started by people doing the exercise of the wall of gifts and doing the exercise of what are some of the dreams they've sold out on? What are some of their own vision that they've sold out on? And when people came to that, wow, have I given up? Do I have to? Or can I reignite something? then we had real buy-in from everybody, and the day was extraordinary. Can you click again? And so you see the relatedness between the principal and the teachers, and this was something from my first visit there that I experienced, that the learners have a huge regard for Nelson. They come and confess and confide and negotiate how they're going to climb the power ladders in the school with them, and how they can be more involved. And that's unique because it's not needing to be driven by the leadership. And then similarly, having the people who are in the room working together, participating fully. And what we really experienced then was the ownership, that as they unpacked these visions, as they started to look at what the school could be, and they were articulating it, then, and everybody was involved. There was just this brightening of the room all the time as people, one after the other, whether they were parents or learners or teachers, contributed to how they would do this, including looking at the possibility thinking, the what-if questions people have referenced. How do we flip those challenges into possibilities? And we finished off with an appreciation exercise, and this picture for me sums up where the staff were at by 3:30. And what you need to know is we had load shedding in the middle. So we were there on a Saturday. Nelson already said there's this program running Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I really got a sense of what his weekends are like. Running in and out, being in the workshop, going to put out a fire almost literally, trying to find a kitchen in the community where the food could still get cooked and where the drinks could be cooled so that we can have lunch on time, which didn't happen. And we kept pushing out the program, and then there was this giant spread at 3:30. But nobody complained, because where they were at was profoundly appreciative of each other. And yeah, that really, I think, speaks to the community.
That was the start.
Anything else you want to add about that?
No. I think the issue of appreciation, we want it. But when it's said to us, we feel shy because we are not used to getting it. So it means we must do it more and more. Because sometimes we just say, let's continue the way we used to be continuing. But the moment you start appreciating, you start realizing that, no, we really need it. Even us as principals, we appear tough, Matiso, but we need that appreciation to say, hey, you're doing well. Hey, keep up the good work.
So then we got responses from the staff themselves. What was that like for them? And I was really moved because a lot of the time they fed back around the presentation and around the presenter and so on. But in terms of what they took away, and these are parent, staff, and teacher responses, and we just gathered a few. We've got a ream of paper at home of their feedback. Acquired skills to deal with people, such as Ubuntu, integrity, and competence. So we really did values exercises there, and what behaviors would be an expression of those values. And people were challenged. We were in the midst of the xenophobia incidences in our city. And so who does Ubuntu apply to? When does Ubuntu apply? Is it exclusive for some people only? These were some of the very challenging issues that we had conversations around. It needs to be rolled out to all the teachers as a collective. So we've agreed that in the first term next year, we're going to do a series of these. And those who pitch up are the right people, and those who don't are going to start having FOMO. And then we've got somebody who said, I learned about organizational development and how to align my future plans with organizational plan. So people started to see that there's room for their personal dreams within the school. They don't have to trade one for the other. It encouraged teamwork and working towards achieving shared goals, and that's always something I love to hear. The session gave us hope as a school and allowed us all to embrace each other's differences and talents. And so as somebody working in diversity inclusion, I love that one. But of course my favorite one is she made us dream again and take an action towards that dream. And that just really moved me. And in Nelson's tears when he thanked me.
But the dream, this is the dream I keep on saying. You know, when I come to a place like Onemolen, you look at the fields that they have and everything.
Can you do the next slide for this?
The same thing that Bob Matiso was saying, where we've got dreams. My dream at school is still to have a field for the learners so that they can be, yes. And that's part of our project. And then every time she speaks to her husband, she says, no, we want the field that will be better than the husband's school. So the husband keeps on encouraging and saying, let's go and see what is going to happen. And it is coming.
Yes, you're going to see now. So at the community building, Nelson sat on the team that looked at the invitation and what would you want to pull people in at your community. And here's the thing that Nelson didn't share is that his foundation degree was in sports education, in physical education. So he's passionate around sports and wanting sport to be a vehicle for healthy schools, healthy education is something that's very, very dear to his heart. But he knows that he needed the people, and so I could bring in this about connecting with the people and building those things, but that's not to sell out on this. This is the big one. So we've agreed this is Nelson's legacy.
Field of dreams.
For the school, the field of dreams. And how do we nurture that? So he's got this vision that he shared, and I got excited and inspired by the vision. But then I kept saying, but what if we had this as well? And what if we had, viewing boxes and people came here and they bride on a Saturday? But of course I'm speaking like somebody from the southern suburbs, so things like that. And then he said, I would have been happy with like a field that had a track and football and maybe rugby. But then we kept, as we shared, growing this vision. And then we said, okay, we need to converse with the right people. So he got hold of Investec. He started those conversations. I got hold of my sister's husband who was in construction and with one of the top architects. So we've got a lot of leveraging to do over there. Mark Thomas, and I'm going to say his name publicly, hopefully it goes on the media and then Mark Thomas will feel pressure to participate. He's the architect who designed the boomslang in Kirstenbosch. So what if we can get him to create a sports center of excellence that lives in Browns Farm, Philippines? Yeah. And people are traveling across the Western Cape to come and have their sports tournaments there because it's the best. And so you said to me, okay, things get bigger and bigger when you're involved. So how do we grow the community for that? So we did a field trip and I took him to the very school. And I said, let's steal with the eye. But we got the deputy to take us around, so we had permission. Yes. And Nelson can tell you what that was like.
And eye open. You know, as we're sitting on the other side, when you go to the schools, you realize that what they have is good. But you can see, this is how we're going around, how the alumni get to be involved in making sure they take you through around at the schools, they've got about 8 fields. I don't even have one. They've got 8. And these 8 are different. And I met this, this old man. He said, no. You young generation with democracy, what you then have to do, you don't have to wait for others. You just have to get your own learners who are willing so they can help you. And he's willing to come and help us to start putting the grass. So we get in there. So this is the room where the alumni, those who were there before, this way they are celebrated and the memorabilia and everything. Yeah, then I said, we're going to do it.
But I want you can't see clearly Nelson's expression here. But can you imagine in a school where there's 65 learners in a room and they're celebrating their computer lab, and this school has 2 or 3 heritage rooms. And as I say it to you, I hope that you find it obscene. And they've got 2 or 3 heritage rooms, but I said to Nelson, so what's the takeaway we can get from this? Because there's loads of money being pumped in. But what our schools need to get is the opportunity to conscientize our learners when they graduate, to start paying it back. 100 Rand a month is a debit order is doable for somebody who's got a job, maybe 50 Rand a month. But if we've got thousands of our matriculants paying back 50 Rand a month or 20 Rand a month, then those fields or those essentials like extra teachers or extra teacher aides becomes possible. We don't have to have the heritage rooms. They actually sell ties here. You can buy a 1969 tie or a 1974 tie. You can even buy a 1920 some odd tie because the school's that old. So it's about how do we take from what's happening there and really enrich the school that we're wanting to, the schools we're wanting to empower. So there's lots of work to be done, and
we're just going to dive in. And I was ready to show her my skill, that I can dive. So then she took the photo. Because I was just appreciating the swimming pool. Where I am, I don't have a swimming pool. But I can swim. I can dive. But I don't have time to swim and dive because there's none. So there I had an opportunity, I could feel, yes.